New research shows that most Californians believe that immigrants play a critical role in the state's success, and those surveyed support expanding services for that population, not only legal immigrants, but undocumented immigrants. The study was commissioned by the California Community Foundation. Miguel Santana is president and CEO of the California Community Foundation. He joins me now. Good to see you.
Nice seeing you.
Why did you want to do this survey?
So we're the Communities Foundation, and our job is to listen carefully on what Californians care about. And so we do that by asking them straight out. Certainly there's a lot of noise about immigrants. We want to know, how do Californians feel about immigrants? And so did a series of focus groups. We asked 800 voters throughout the state, what are your perceptions? And overwhelmingly, Californians believe that immigrants are a net positive to our economy, and they connect the dots. The number one issue that Californians most care about is cost of living. And what was very clear about this poll is that they see the direct connection between the cost of living and if immigrants should be taken out of California, how cost of living will actually increase.
Yeah. And it seemed like the voters in California have a different view on some of this than some of the national polls that we've seen in terms of there's more support here for the undocumented population. Let's look at some of those numbers. So let's start about, should we have access to affordable health care? We know that right now in the state, undocumented folks do have access to Medi-Cal, which has been controversial. It's cost the state billions of dollars, but 68% support the idea of access to affordable health care, which comes in a variety of different formats.
That's right, and I think the pandemic showed us that when someone else is sick, that means I could get sick. And so healthcare is a basic way of keeping all Californians healthy. If you limit access to quality basic healthcare to some part of the population, then it impacts all of us. And to see that nearly 70%, a very significant majority, very clearly see that connection, it really informs why the governor and the legislature in their decision to cover immigrants is so important.
Yeah, although, and of course the point that they make is that we are required to cover people's health care when they show up at the emergency room, which is far more expensive, and oftentimes taxpayers have to cover that bill if they can't pay for it. So we'd rather give them health care preventative earlier on, which they say is cheaper, although there's an argument about some of that. Okay, let's look at some more of these numbers. State food assistance, 64% of people support access to state food assistance. This is the way a lot of California's kids eat every day, including a whole lot of kids in the LAUSD whose parents are not here legally, but they rely on food from the state and from the school district.
So 1 of 4 children in LA County lives in a mixed status household, meaning that they're U.S. citizens, but they have a family member who's undocumented. And so access to basic food is very important. But the other thing that I think was really surprising in this poll and in the focus groups is that voters see the direct relationship between having access to food for all of us, regardless of legal status, and immigrants, seeing that immigrants are such a significant part of the workforce in the agricultural business in particular.
Yes, a huge part of picking our food, and so many of those people are undocumented. A couple other numbers we'll put up quickly just to go through them. Worker benefits, 60% of people support eligibility for worker benefits, even if you're not here legally. 58% of Californians support access to the earned income tax credit as well. Now, there are some people that are watching this that say, look, we like the idea of legal immigrants. We don't like the idea of people cutting in line, and that supporting a lot of these programs is an incentive structure to encourage people to come here, which ultimately costs taxpayers and is not fundamentally fair. What do you say to that?
Well, I think the voters see it differently. Most people who are undocumented have been in California for over 20 years. They're part of the fabric of our community. Their kids go to schools with all kids, and they see the direct relationship with the California way of life and the important part that immigrants play in the economy. I think most voters clearly say that they're a net positive to California, and they don't see that argument. That most Californian voters don't believe that people come here for basic health care. They come here to work, and as a result of their labor, we have cheaper vegetables. We have housing that is being built. 40% of construction workers are undocumented. In light of the wildfires in particular, I saw in focus groups people saying, who's going to build if there aren't immigrants in LA?
Yeah, and some 17% of people overall in the state of California, a state of 40 million people, are believed to be undocumented, although of course hard to totally tabulate that inherent in being undocumented.
The thing that I think was the most important, though, is that overwhelmingly, nearly 90% of Democrats and Republicans believe that there must be a pathway to citizenship. And that is a universal sense that everyone understands that the system is broken and that needs to happen to allow those immigrants the full part of our society.
If only those numbers were similar in Congress, where it's a very different situation right now. Thanks for sharing your views. Really interesting work.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work at the foundation.
Thank you.